Hello friends, today we are going to discuss regarding ST segment elevation myocardial infarction. ST segment elevation myocardial infarction is the most severe form of acute coronary syndrome. It occurs due to complete occlusion of a coronary artery due to formation of thrombus over a ruptured atherosclerotic plaque in a high-risk patient. High-risk patient is the one with comorbidities in the form of hypertension, diabetes, or dyslipidemia. Now, coming to risk factors of ST segment elevation myocardial infarction. Anything that accelerates atherosclerosis increases the risk of ST segment elevation myocardial infarction. Risk factors for ST segment elevation myocardial infarction can be classified into three types. First, non-modifiable risk factors. Second, modifiable risk factors. Third, emerging risk factors. Now, coming to non-modifiable risk factors. First, age. More than 45 years in males and more than 55 years in females. Second, sex. Males are more predisposed than females. Third, family history of coronary artery disease. Now, coming to modifiable risk factors. Modifiable risk factors include hypertension, diabetes mellitus, dyslipidemia, obesity, sedentary lifestyle, unhealthy diet that may include saturated fat, refined carbohydrate, low fruit and vegetable intake, excess alcohol intake, and psychosocial stress. Now, coming to emerging risk factors. Emerging risk factors may include elevated lipoprotein A. Second, elevated CRP. CRP is a marker of inflammation, sleep apnea, and CKD. Now, coming to pathophysiology. So, as we have already discussed, atherosclerotic plaque is composed of lipid-rich necrotic core covered with a fibrous cap. So, how does this plaque rupture? So, there are basically four steps. The first, inflammation. Inflammation weakens the fibrous cap. Second, mechanical stress. Hypertension and tachycardia weakens the fibrous cap. They increase strain on fibrous cap. Third, rupture of the fibrous cap. Fibrous cap tears, exposing lipid-rich necrotic core to circulating blood. Fourth, clot formation or thrombosis. Activation of tissue factor and collagen triggers platelet activation, aggregation, and adhesions. Coagulation cascade starts, which leads to clot formation, thereby blocking a coronary artery partially or completely, resulting in acute coronary syndrome. Now, coming to clinical presentation. Patient with ST segment elevation myocardial infarction may present to you with severe crushing retrosternal chest pain, which may radiate towards left shoulder or jaw or even back. Patient may have associated symptoms in the form of nausea, vomiting, diaphoresis, sweating, or sense of impending doom. Pain usually occurs at rest or minimal exertion, and it is not relieved by. Now, we will go through investigations in a patient with ST segment myocardial infarction. Initial evaluation in a patient with ST segment myocardial infarction should include routine blood investigations like CBC and KFT. Then, second, ECG. In a patient with ST segment elevation myocardial infarction, ECG changes in the form of ST segment elevation in two contiguous leads, that is more than 2 mm in chest lead and more than 1 mm in limb lead. along with reciprocal changes, that is ST segment depression in opposite leads. It's diagnostic for ST segment elevation myocardial infarction. Now, if a patient presents with acute severe chest pain and new onset left bundle branch block, it is also considered equivalent to ST segment elevation myocardial infarction. Now, we are going to discuss phases of EC changes in a patient with ST segment myocardial infarction. Phase 1 is a hyperacute changes. So, in hyperacute phase, one may find tall T wave, peaked T wave, hyperacute T wave. This phase usually lasts from few minutes to hours. Second is acute phase. Acute phase lasts for few hours, and it is manifested by marked ST segment elevation in two contiguous leads along with reciprocal changes, that is ST segment depression in opposite leads. Third is evolving phase. This phase may last from few hours to days. In this phase, there is development of pathological Q wave. Pathological Q wave is more than 0.04 second wide, and it is more than 25% of R wave. Chronic phase lasts from few weeks to months. ST segment elevation comes back to normal. It comes back to baseline. The T wave inversion and pathological Q wave persist. Now we will go through localization of ST segment elevation myocardial infarction by ECG lead. Coming to anterior wall myocardial infarction, the changes may be observed in lead V1 to V4. Second, anterior lateral myocardial infarction. Here changes will be seen in leads V3 to V6 1 AVL. Third, inferior wall myocardial infarction. Here changes will be observed in leads 2-3 AVF. Then fourth, high lateral myocardial infarction. Here changes will be visible in leads 1 and AVL. Now we will go through some special cases. For example, posterior wall myocardial infarction. Posterior wall myocardial infarction occurs in patient with lateral or inferior wall ischemia. One may find ST segment depression in V1 to V3 with tall R waves and ST segment elevation in lead V7 to V9. Now coming to right ventricular infarction. In right ventricular infarction is basically due to involvement of RCA. And whenever we suspect a patient to have right ventricular infarction, we must always record right-sided leads. And in right-sided leads, if ST segment elevation is more than 1 mm in V4R, it is diagnostic for right ventricular infarction. So whenever we suspect a patient to have right ventricular infarction, for example, if there are changes in 2-3 AVF along with hypotension and lungs are clear and JVP is raised, then we must always record right-sided leads. It is extremely important because the management changes drastically. Because in a right ventricular infarction, we have to avoid certain drugs that can reduce preload. For example, nitrates, diuretics, and we have to use fluid cautiously in such patients.